In May, the United States and Iran signed a truce. For a brief window, it appeared the risk of a regional explosion had finally receded. That agreement has disintegrated. Iran is threatening to attack RAF Fairford, claiming the base is launching U.S. bomber strikes against Iranian territory. This chart shows how the energy markets responded to the new threats. Brent crude has climbed back to $100 a barrel, reaching a price point we haven't seen since the height of the previous hostilities in May. The conflict has spread from the Persian Gulf to the English countryside and the southern tip of the Red Sea. A series of miscalculations in Washington and London has turned a regional standoff into a multi-front war with immediate consequences for the global economy. The United Kingdom's strategy was to permit US B-1 bombers to use British runways, while officially remaining at arm's length from the American war effort. The British government attempted to maintain this distance by classifying all US flights from its soil as strictly defensive missions. But defense is a term with no fixed definition in modern warfare. When an airbase hosts strategic bombers that can fly across the world to drop munitions, the distinction between a defensive posture and an offensive launch is impossible to verify from the outside. Iranian officials have rejected the UK's terminology entirely. They now classify RAF Fairford as a legitimate military target, regardless of how London labels the flights. By trying to split the difference between ally and bystander, the UK has placed a domestic military installation on the Iranian target list. While the UK dealt with threats at home, the US president cited tactical success, claiming the Iranian Navy had been effectively neutralized during the initial weeks of bombing. However, a diplomatic shift in Washington complicated the situation. The White House linked a new deal on nuclear technology for Saudi Arabia to a requirement that the Saudis officially recognize Israel. This ultimatum strained the alliance with the Saudi crown prince, who has historically tied recognition to the establishment of a Palestinian state. Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen saw this friction between the US and the Saudis as an opportunity to end their own 4-year ceasefire. While the US focused on the Strait of Hormuz, a new front opened at the Bab al-Mandab Strait in the south. Houthi forces are now targeting Saudi tankers exiting the Red Sea, creating a second choke point for global oil transit. The collapse of the US-Saudi consensus handed Iranian proxies the ability to block the southern gate of the Red Sea, doubling the pressure on global shipping routes. Mediators from Pakistan and Qatar are attempting to restart talks, but the previous Memorandum of Understanding has failed, and neither side is currently prepared to offer concessions. With diplomacy stalled, the momentum of the conflict is now being driven by events on the ground rather than decisions in the negotiating room. The blockade at the Bab al-Mandab Strait means Saudi Arabia has lost its direct naval route to its primary markets in Asia. This forces energy prices higher in Europe at a critical moment, just as nations begin the expensive process of filling their gas storage for the winter. The impact is filtering through to the domestic economy, showing up in higher government borrowing costs and tightened national budgets. The result of these strategic failures is visible at the pump. This conflict has moved from a regional military standoff to a global cost of living crisis.